Hello and welcome to Kinetic Studios. I'm Abe Nadimi.
I'm Jannica Morton.
Emily
We're
Francis.
Excited. Emily who?
Francis.
Anyways. So welcome. We're excited to have you here. We are building our company right in front of you, and we're also bringing you on our conversations on not only about business, but also some of the things that we talk about, especially related to our wealth wheel. Miss Jannica, take it away.
Our wealth wheel is all about 10 key resources to live an optimal life. So within those, we break them down into 2 categories each. And today we're covering love, which is all about your core and tribe. And it's probably one of my favorite of all of our resources. And we're really talking not necessarily like your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend or anything like that. It's more really what do you define as your core and what do you define as your tribe. And those are those people that you do life with, or that you consider as like your core would be people that you would consider as just your key people that you just can't live without. And then your tribe is like your community of people. So it could be family, or it could be business people, or it could be friends, or it could whoever. It's not about blood. So.
And if you're right there on Instagram, thank you for joining us. Again, my name is Abe Nadimi. We're actually live streaming this it's about 1 hour, and we put it on Twitch. So it's twitch.tv/Kinetic EXP TV. And again, we're just building our company here in Dallas, Texas, showing you some of the behind the scenes, some of the wins, some of the losses, some of the challenges that we're going through. And we have this kind of code word, and today it's around love. It's one of our topics on the wealth wheel. And it's around core, like you probably just got Jannica mentioning at the very, very beginning there. So, Emily, who's in your core?
I mean, I know you're
Abe,
working at it.
Janie.
Why don't you just tell me who's in my core? Yes.
You don't need to
Abe's
actually
working.
answer that. But
it's fine.
what about some
working at
perspective about core for you? Because I know that was a new topic when you started joining us a month ago. What was your thoughts around that?
So I don't know if it's just me or a lot of people, but differentiating between people you care about and who are your friends and you are there for you and you're there for them. That's more of your tribe. Your core are those ride or die people that you can go to no matter what happens and know that they've got your back. And will give you advice that you may not want to hear, and guidance and all that good shit. The people that you cannot talk to for 6 months, and it's not because you're mad, and it's like you were never apart. So that's how you know. If people you lose contact with and you kind of lose track of each other, that would not be your core, and they might not even be your tribe. Doesn't mean they're not your friends. It just means they fall into another category.
Yeah.
So
For sure. I don't know that, I would say my family's in my core, my tribe and such, but definitely have people in my life that I'm not blood related to or married to, and so those people are super, super important. My best friends, my soulmates, my partners, there's a group of women that I've raised my kids with, and they're the badass mamas, and yes, and
I like how she calls
others, and Emily. But I couldn't have lived through my children's childhood without other women to connect with and to identify with and to talk about the craziness of our children.
accurate.
You go insane otherwise, because you just realize, holy cow, am I the only one whose child, decides to eat Fruit Loops out of the toilet? Is that normal?
Those were pee loops that were not for eating.
See?
I don't even know why you're telling that story. I feel so bad.
Because it's like a thing that moms deal with. So anyways.
Yeah, but now your kids will have to deal with this.
They have to deal with lots of stuff. So
okay.
If you can't overcome people talking about you peeing into a toilet bowl full of Cheerios to teach you to aim, that's the least of your worries.
Exactly. So, yeah, and I was lucky to grow up in a very small private school, and I have some great relationships that are still strong that, I've had since 4th grade. So I would consider those people in my tribe. But core, yeah, there's a few solid, strong relationships and some family. Not all of my family's in it because some of them just don't get me. So it's not that I don't love them. They're just not the people I'm going to turn to and call when I'm trying to figure something out, because their perspective is so different than mine that they can't even offer me their perspective in a healthy way. It's a judgmental way. And those people, I mean, it has nothing to do with love in that sense. It's just a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thoughts on it.
I'll say just being honest with yourself and those relationships is, if your relationship is based on obligation of like, I have to because they are my blank, then you know that's not your core and that's not your tribe.
Exactly.
That's kind of that thought to be running through your head as you're trying to identify who those people are. If it's like, I have to, then it's like, no, you don't have to.
Right.
I'm amazed at how many I have to things people say.
Yeah.
Like, I just have to blank, and it's some kind of restrictive thing versus a free thing. And so one of my 5 core values is freedom. And so that just really just all the time.
Grinds your
my brain
ears.
just grinds.
Yeah.
Did you say grinds my ears?
Gears.
Oh, sorry.
Clean your ears. Like, I have to be nice to Abe.
You do not, actually.
Yeah, I know.
And she
I mean, you
is
kind of
early.
do, but you're not. Let me rephrase that. I mean, you kind of do, but you don't. Well, I didn't grow up with extended family around me, so it was just our isolated little family, and so my family ended up becoming the people that had really, big impacts on me, or were really, really wonderful.
Sorry, not to joke. Robert, check the audio.
It's not working? Why?
Just to see. Sorry to cut you off, but okay.
Why?
We have a message that it's not working.
Voice not audible. We'll just make sure. Cool. All right.
Anyways, so yeah, I just didn't grow up with a bunch of family members local to me.
Yeah.
And so, like, what I call my uncles, Uncle Mohsen, which now lives in Boston, right out of Boston, or Uncle Manny. I mean, they were like my real uncles. They would come and spend time with us. They would take us out. It's really awesome. Now that I'm an uncle too, I'm super excited to doing those things with Sophia. My brother has a daughter named Sophia, so I'm really excited about that.
That does make sense. Same thing. Army brat, so I didn't grow up by any extended family at all, but we would still, family visits or things like, one of the things that my grandparents did that I thought was so cool is because we live far away, and this was like before Skype and all of this stuff, they would like record on cassette tapes, like reading children's books, and then mail me the cassette with the book. So it was
That's
like
really
they
sweet.
were they were reading me a story, because they would miss huge chunks of time. So just ways that you can stay connected to your tribe and to your core.
That's a really awesome.
That's what my grandparents used to do too.
Yeah.
I have lots of little cassette tapes of my grandma
I wish I still had them.
I have some of mine. We found a whole briefcase of my grandma's stories and her songs.
So when did you find that? Recently?
My mom found it in all of her stuff. So
Do you
I've
know
got to
you can
figure out
send
how
them to a company and
Yeah.
they'll
convert it all.
convert it to digital.
Yeah. So we have stories of my grandpa talking about World War II and his experience there. But my grandma used to do the same thing. We'd go to sleep listening to her Bible stories, really, or her singing us songs.
And I think as especially a little kid, that helped me feel connected, because essentially these people were strangers to me when we would meet in real life. So it's like,
That's true. I went through that
like,
when
you're
I
my grandma,
yeah.
but like, I have no freaking idea who you are. I've basically never met you.
That is so freaking true.
But when you, as a kid, voice and tone and things like that become very comforting. So it did make building a connection easier as a kid. And I guess just as an adult.
No, that's absolutely true. Oh man, come look at what I'm up to, and you put.
So I have a question. Like, I wonder how
You're
many
so funny.
people. It's more of I guess it's more of a wonderment versus a question in general, because we can't answer it. But I wonder how many people include people that they work with in their tribe or core.
I think it'll depend on the type of environment and what the kind of work is and who those people are. Just because certain types of jobs may not really lend themselves to building like a relationship. It's a lot of competition or deadlines, or you're kind of everyone's out for their own.
Yeah.
So
That's
Valid
crazy
point.
though. I look at every job I've had since I was 12, and they've always included people that were in either my core or tribe, or the people I worked with became part of that. Like my job at Bay Network. Well, I can start back at whatever, but each one, I can't think of one job where I
But
didn't.
I think it's also related to your core values.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I think you've said love is like basically your top one.
It is. That's my number
So-
one value.
Right. Love being high for you is going to where money didn't even show up in your top 5
Right.
at all.
Right.
Like I don't even think under an umbrella value did it ever show up.
No.
So you're never going to work in an environment that pays really, really well, and you don't like the people that you're with.
Oh, hell no. No, I did. I take it back. It lasted 3 weeks.
Well, okay, that's what I'm saying. That doesn't
Like,
count.
fuck this. This sucks.
That doesn't count.
I did. It made me actually sick. So
Yeah.
Do you mind if I put the Wild Wheel on the live show?
No, go ahead.
yeah, and see if you can check the volume again, just because it's kind of low.
Really?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. It's just our stream volume is lower than some of the others.
Our favorite person ever,
Yes.
guy from Mars.
Our
says
number
that-
one fan. We need to do what he wants.
Yes,
Guy-
exactly.
Guy from Mars.
Says check out other streams and it's a low sound here. Maybe increase the volume a little. So I don't know how you do that.
I don't know, I'm getting to that.
Anyway, so the whole purpose of having this element of our wealth wheel, it's around creating that for the entrepreneur and for the parent at home or whoever that is that's wanting to change their life. And so we're always looking at creating an environment that involves their, like looking at love as a resource.
Yeah.
So really bringing that to the front of the conversation, like how to create that in an environment here. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So.
I think it's just such a huge resource because I look at people who don't value their relationships or don't have key relationships.
Love as a resource.
There.
So really bringing that to the front of the conversation.
That's okay. So they look miserable. They look sad, even when they put a smile on their face. Like there's no connection for them. And I think of some
Circles
of the
back to miserably rich. Like
Yeah,
you can have a
miserably
whole
rich.
lot, and that's all you have. Stuff.
So what are some actionable streams? But can you just knock the volume down one notch?
Again?
Well, it's a little too high.
Oh my gosh.
We'll get
We'll get it.
there.
We'll get it right.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you. Okay, you should
Better now. Awesome.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right, let's try this. Well, this is not a woo-woo conversation. This is around creating an environment at the office that people want to come to, which means they'll thrive.
Right.
Period. And it's just really supporting the entrepreneur or your team members so that we have the conversation like, how is love in your life? Because if they're having a difficulty there, it's going to show up in the job place.
Right.
So I think the smaller companies, of course, resources are tighter, and so they may not have money to spend in development of their team members as much as they would like to. I don't even say they should, just say they like to.
We'll sorry, go ahead.
But definitely the other way around. If the team members and larger companies are getting the opportunities to have conversations around this and training around this, I think it makes a tremendous impact. Because when love or your tribe is low, I mean, boy,
Yeah.
life is difficult. And if life's difficult at home, how good are we really to separate that when we come to the office? Like, let's be real.
You can't. You carry.
I think you
No.
can. And
you carry it forward, and that impacts your decision. It impacts your
what's your focus?
your energy.
Right, all of the above.
So I don't. So according to Guy from Mars, UK is not loving the
Or
the
leaving.
EU right now.
Not leaving.
No, they're leaving, so they're not loving.
Oh, there you go. Totally fine.
Well, they really loved their core. They were not so interested in their tribe.
Yeah. So, what would the consequences of that be?
That's an interesting one. I love these questions. I think it's interesting that the EU experiment has been different than the experiment of bringing the states together in the United States. I think it's a kind of a different thing.
Well, because like the United States, like we were all kind of band together against the wilderness and driving out the natives. Sorry. So we
It
kind of
was,
had a
it
common
was really
goal.
around. Well, it was driving out, but it wasn't that as much as driving out the British.
That too. Well, I mean, once there was enough people here, they realized like, oh, we don't need someone telling us what to do who doesn't live here and doesn't understand what we're up against and things like that. Where the EU were all these sovereign nations that have been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years that chose to work together, again, for a common good, but it's not like any of them were completely falling apart without the others. I mean,
Well, that's
some
the
were
whole
stronger
point.
than others,
That's
but
the part. The stronger ones were having, I think, felt like they had to lift the weaker ones.
Yeah.
Greece was one on the financial side. Italy has had
Yeah.
financial problems, and so all of a sudden,
all the places anyone wants to live.
because they look good in photos.
Greece
Yeah.
and Italy, no, they have good food.
Plus the food.
and they
Yes,
have beautiful
they have lots of those
oceans.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
And
their
chocolate.
financial situations are difficult.
Listen, I can't be
Yeah.
doing paperwork if I'm at the beach.
And so,
That's why I'm not a billionaire. It's the only reason, totally.
the
Yeah.
consequences are going to be interesting. While I think they're going to have some difficulty at the very beginning as they go to sort out what this means to be back to being their own thing, and then they're going
Yeah.
to negotiate back. But I think the next financial crisis that happens, the UK is going to come out stronger because they're not going to be tied to everybody else's stuff.
Tied to bailing out.
And so there won't be, because there was a lot of issues in the EU related to Greece bringing down the value
Yeah.
of the
The
EU
euro.
of the euro,
Yeah.
and then Italy, and everything that happens in
Spain for
Italy
all, or
turns
everything
around
something
and
else?
affects the euro across all of the
them.
countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's.
So it is predicated on the UK doing smart things for the UK, and if the UK does smart things for itself, then if or when there's the next financial situation, it might be in a situation where that their economy will actually thrive.
Oh yeah, he's saying yeah. So if the UK, or since the UK is leaving, at least Article 13 won't apply there. So the UK can have the
UK
internet.
can have YouTube.
Yay!
Go back to go back to the conversation we had yesterday. It's good.
Thank you.
We need some more light. I need to fix this light. So there's like
Yeah,
all this
you're
tech
dark.
challenges, the tech challenges that we have
You're-
as we're learning this thing.
You're super brown today.
I am.
Remember when we moved this? This is not it though. It's not.
I think we just need
the
we just need to have a
blinds just
we'll just need to put another light here. It's just hard sometimes with the backlight the way
But
they
the
are
other,
here.
but the other time he just moved this a little bit and it caught the light enough, so you weren't so dark. But yeah, you're definitely dark.
Anyways, so what we recently have found that's been interesting is that a lot of the entrepreneurs that have reached out to us. So this like wealth wheel thing, I mean, we're barely talking about this. It's like we haven't even launched our daily wealth emails yet, which hopefully in the next week or two we'll have those out. Those will be like small little snippets of emails, and the whole point around that is to be able to provide value on a daily basis in a very, very quick format, not this really long email, because the long emails to me, I wonder if I need to. I am standing. I love the standing desk type of situation, and I lean over a lot. So, yeah, provide value in a very concise email, because the longer emails, for me personally, they're it's like, oh, I need to add that to my to-do list to come back and read that thing. I don't know.
Too long didn't read.
Too long, didn't read.
TLDR.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, so that's our daily wealth email. So we'll come out with that really, really soon. And so we haven't even been talking about,
Earthquake.
we haven't even been talking about this stuff publicly. But the entrepreneurs that have reached out to us, it's important to them that they create a loving environment.
Yeah,
and they bring
I
that
love
out on
that.
their own.
Well, and I think
So from Annette from the Cayman
Cayman.
Islands,
came on.
Come on.
Cayman. So
Cayman.
her whole thing is based on that.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I know.
starting with love and just
Beautiful.
working from there.
What'd you say?
It's beautiful.
Well, it's like you're talking about people that are, startups that don't have like the resources. I would take not having beanbag chairs and like tote bags in my break room and swag for an environment that's supportive of different kinds of people and what my priorities are and respectful.
Sweet.
So yeah, I know, that's why I work here. There are no beanbags.
And there's no swag. Where's our swag?
We don't need it anymore. We're just
Hey,
going to be loving to her.
I stole this really cool mug from whoever was at my desk before me. Thank you.
Steven, you stole that.
You stole that from Steven.
I actually stole it
It's
for
like
you.
reverse reparations.
Yes. Welcome back to the way it has been for a long time.
But those, and especially I think, you know, as younger people are starting to enter the workforce, like those are the things that we care about. It's don't give me a freaking gold watch after 40 years. One, you're gonna fire me before I'm old enough to get to a retirement because, you know, my insurance will be expensive or whatever. But
Yeah.
make people feel like they actually matter, not just as you are this little number that's making money for me until you don't make me enough money, or we get tired of dealing with you and off you go.
I think about that when I listen to conversations with people who are in the corporate world, especially at higher management and executive level, and really listening to them, how they have to take the emotion out of their decisions in hiring and firing people and raises and all of that. And I think through, like, this person gave you 20 years or 10 years or whatever it is. And it's like, well, yeah, but they're not really thinking like the newer people, the younger people, or they're not.
Well, that's a really difficult one. Why would you keep someone around just because they've been around for a long time?
I know.
This kind of
but
goes
at the
back to
same
like they're in
time,
my
is it-
family because I've known them for 20 years and they're in my core.
But does it come, this is a conversation that I had yesterday, so does it come down to loyalty, or does it come down to that the company's not providing the space or the resources or the infrastructure or the opportunity for that person to grow and develop? Or do they just stick them in a job and they're stuck there and there's no, like, what we're proposing for corporations to do is to pay back into their customers, into their team members, to grow those individuals to have their optimal life. Companies don't do that, and so after so many years they just get stagnant in their job.
Well, we have a very non-committal society in that regard right now.
Yeah.
But it goes both ways.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think some people have been in jobs that they should have left a decade ago, relationships they should have left 2 decades ago,
Golden
or 1 decade
handcuffs,
ago,
it's
or
like-
2 weeks ago.
It's
We are in a
scary.
position that people just stay in a situation because they don't want to change.
I agree, but
So
that doesn't-
if a team member is not performing well, that means that there's another opportunity for them that they're not getting a chance to do.
okay,
But
I-
they're so consistently, like, they're so in this scenario where, like, I know I've done this for 20 years, I can't do anything else. But that's not really
what
true.
I'm saying. A lot of companies don't give that opportunity to their employees once they get them in a position. And they kind of push them up the ladder to an extent before they level out. They don't give them those opportunities of, hey, if you're interested in this, okay, I'll give you an example. Yesterday I was talking to someone about one of his team members who's been with their company, I think, over a dozen years.
Okay?
Guy knows his shit. He's an expert. He has multiple degrees, whatever. But he's bored, and they have not offered him or even allowed him to pursue any other of his interests within the company. So what this manager is proposing doing is letting the employee and another employee kind of swap different positions, different activities within their roles that they both are interested in. And both of them just lit up at the idea of, oh my God, I have something new to do. I get to use these other skills. I get to expand, whatever. Most managers and most companies don't really think through that because it's an effort they have to take.
Well, because training someone to do something new takes resources, and it's such a
Right.
pain in the
It comes
ass,
down to
and
money
it'll
and time.
slow down productivity for however long, if any
But
time
I
at
think
all.
I think it's the difference between the company doesn't allow me or I'm going to make this happen. Right?
Okay,
So,
yes,
this said
but-
person, half their life, half their waking hours are at the office.
Mm-hmm.
There's a significant chunk of time on the non-office hours that this person could be cultivating a different skill or something to go in and say, now I can do blank, can you use it? No, well, I'm really interested in doing it. I guess I need to look elsewhere. But how many people are so scared is what it boils down to, and it's fear. And they're so fearful, they don't want to make a move. They won't try to make something, and so they're shackled to whatever the.
Well, if you
But the
don't
reality
have a
is that if we-
financial security, like
BS.
you might be living paycheck to paycheck. In which case, like, yeah, I'll just leave and do something different while I develop skills to do this dream goal. But
No, you can do it
underthinking
simultaneously.
it.
You can, and he did. That's the thing. He had these skills on the side. He could just never get the opportunity within the company to
Yeah, but
move.
then if I would have had a conversation with like, okay, bro, well, why don't you go try instead of working at Samsung, why don't you try Intel? Well, I've been here so long, and I know exactly what the thoughts
get
would have been
it.
inside. Well, shit, I don't know the other parking lot, and but people don't like me, and now I got to start over.
I don't
No.
think worried
I
about
get
being
it.
with my parking lot was ever like an issue for trying to make a move.
You'd be surprised the kind of stupid stuff people are thinking inside,
Yeah.
which is all related to not wanting to try new things.
Well, it's
and being
fear-based.
scared.
I
But it's
don't
all
know that
fear-based.
it's
is what it is.
fear-based. I don't agree. Maybe in some situations, yes, but in others, it's really looking at the benefits. Like he
Yeah.
gets at this company because he's been there so long. He has 8 weeks paid vacation,
Then that matters to him more than the freedom of the other, how many, 44
and he
weeks.
can work from home and travel all over the
That
place.
all matters to him more than the other 44 weeks of, I got to do this.
But that's what I'm saying.
That-
If he's doing his part and trying, but wants to stay with the company because he likes the company, he likes the product, he likes all of that.
Yeah, but vote for the millennials on this one. Like, kudos to the millennials that are like, I don't want to work with this shitty asshole. I'd rather not do this shit than deal with your asshole self
Well, and
because
part of
now I
that
can have a nice
too-
car and nice have a house and like I don't want to deal with that. I'd rather do this because this is what's driving my emotional and my happiness. And so they're changing a lot of the workplace because the millennials are like, I'm not dealing with the bullshit.
Okay, so does this not mean, okay,
Digital
For
nomads,
me-
100%. Like his comment on digital
Yes.
nomads. Like there are people saying, I'm not going to deal with the bullshit. I'm really talented in my skill and I'll do what I can do to support you.
I don't need to drive 3 hours each way to like sit in a cubicle to do something on my computer that can be done anywhere there's internet.
I've been a digital nomad
Yeah,
for
you-
20
Yeah,
years. Like,
exactly.
I
You get all
it.
that.
But what I'm saying is, I think there is a value. I'm not going to say it's a requirement or a necessity that they do it, but I think it's a value if companies will look at each individual
Of course there's a value.
and help them develop
But
themselves.
this is what I'm saying. There's 100% it's a value. But it's being driven right now by the workforce, the younger workforce saying, I'm not interested in the golden watch.
Well,
Right.
And the matter of fact, there
especially-
ain't no fucking golden
There
watch.
isn't one. Well, and he's been there a dozen years and has 8 weeks of vacation and all these things. You know, like I'd have to work there 50 years before I might get like my 3 weeks of paid vacation. But even then, now not me personally because I work for a good company. But you're stuck. Everyone's a contract worker now. So like you may be a full-time worker for this company that you like, but like they'll find ways to avoid making you feel like you matter.
Business is always driven from one perspective. How can the business thrive? Period.
Yeah.
So if the business starts to realize that investing in you is going to make them more money, then they're going to do that. When they start realizing like, oh shit, we can't keep you around because we were being douchebags or we weren't doing blank, they'll either wake up and change and innovate, or they'll be gone.
The real fun is when you've got companies that absolutely want to be douchebags and are doing everything they can to like pretend like they care about the youth that work there.
Well, it doesn't work though. I mean,
Exactly. It's super obvious when those, caring about your people is something you're doing to try and avoid not getting good talent, not because you actually care.
I'm trying to find, I want to say it was Fidelity just released a new like workplace clothing.
Is it good or bad?
I'm sorry. One of these big ass old stuffy investment firms have just
Yeah.
released the change of attire type of situation.
So they don't have to be all stuffy and
Right.
women don't have to wear
Right. You know why?
pantyhose and all that other crap.
Why? Because a lot of times people just like the younger crowd, like I don't want to work there.
Yeah.
Why do I have to show up in a suit? I'm not saying that that's okay. That's whatever. It's just that if that's where the talent pool is, and the talent pool saying I don't want to deal with this, then I think it's going to cause, the situation.
Yeah.
And so thank God the millennials are having this conversation because that's what's actually changing. And then companies are starting to realize like, oh, right, like the things that they want is going to be different. There's some workplace happiness, not just 401k matching benefits and insurance anymore,
Yeah.
right? And then you're going to suffer the workplace.
Yeah.
But it's driven from that thing. So your friend who's been doing this for so long, he has valued his 8 weeks of vacation more than walking and saying, I need a fucking change or I'm going to lose my mind. I'm out.
Yeah.
But he's like, but I can't do that because I get 8 weeks of vacation. So it's 8 weeks of time to not fuck around with the other 44 weeks. I cannot leave this place for 8 weeks. I would die.
No, 'cause
And it's not the
for
money
us-
part. Like this, we literally create exactly what we want to have.
I definitely couldn't do 8 weeks in a row, but I could do like 3 weeks and go to Europe or something. But even then, I think I was still like, hey, what are y'all doing back in the office?
I think if we as a team were in other locations, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would love all of that. I love traveling. I love.
It's not
But
being
not with
stuck
your
in this
friends.
office.
What I was sharing with you, like before we had kids, Teens and I would take quite often 3 to 4 day trips.
Yeah.
But it was really what I found, like 3 days was an awesome amount of time. Maybe 4 in a sense, like fourth would be kind of like the travel day, like the aggregate of all the different travel, right? So 2 to 3 days on a different place was amazing. US based. If you're obviously Europe, you need more days because of the travel time.
Well, then, like, was it Ben
That's the source
Franklin or
of it.
somebody
Can't use
says,
never been
like,
to Europe.
house guests and fish, or the stink after 3 days, something
Yeah.
like that? No, it's about that.
I don't know. I think it takes, if you're in a day-to-day grind, I think it takes a 2-week vacation really to get you to get a new perspective, because that first week you're just detoxing from
Well, that's assuming you're even allowed to take your 2 weeks at the same time.
consecutive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fun.
I know when I went to Costa Rica last year that it was, like I was there, I think it was Sunday through, Friday, something like that? I don't remember, Saturday through, I don't know. But it wasn't until like Thursday where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I really need another week, because I'm finally at a point where I'm relaxed and I've let go of like the day-to-day.
You're finally able like to unclench enough to like start the fun part of not being or being out of,
Well, and I
real
felt
life.
like my whole mind and my body and my heart and soul, everything kind of just opened up, and it was like, okay, now we can start creating, we can start thinking, whatever. But I had to get on a plane the next day.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, fuck. But that's me. I think because there is so much in my life that I don't have those moments of space where I can just be, unless I'm in the car. But that's not really space either. So.
Yeah.
3 to 4 day trips, they're really short though. I mean,
I love my
guess-
life. I don't need to get away from this. I like to.
Well, yeah.
So I'm not getting away from this. I'm wanting to see something else.
Yeah, I do.
There's a difference for me, right?
yeah.
And that's why I thought about us relocating during the summer, like 2 weeks here, 2 weeks. You remember I brought up Amsterdam, right? Because if we go to Amsterdam for 2 weeks, we can explore a lot, but we can also get some of the things that we want to do done.
Work wise, yeah.
I don't know. It's just different. My perception of what to accomplish in life is so different than some people, because I merged them all together, and like I want to have a fun environment, and I want to make money doing what I love doing, and
Yep.
I'm more interested in growing and learning and adventure and helping people than I am just making money. Because some people just make a lot of money, so they need lots of money here so they can go fund the rest of their life.
Right.
And I'm like, why would you want to spend all your good years making the money
Making
to then
money.
fund your old years?
You wouldn't. That's why, and that's why I go back to what I said. Every job I've ever had, minus the internship accounting, which I left after 3 weeks, and the 3-week job I had for the Japanese company, I left both of those. It was like that 3 week mark. I'm like, out, done. But
Jenny out.
But I make sure that I'm around people that I can create with, that I can brainstorm with. I love the job. I love what I'm doing. It's not a job to me. I don't consider this work.
Yeah, I think this is a good question or a good comment. Being friends with an employee is dangerously bad idea, and so just to clarify, I asked, is that a leader with the team members, and said yes. And that's a really good point. I think there is a lot of value to that statement. To a degree, I've had a challenge with that just personally on drawing the boundaries in a way between friendship and quote unquote employees. My dad is much better at that. At Social Smoke, we did definitely have more of a line between the leadership and the employee team or team members. We like to use the word team members here. But I understand exactly what the problem is just because difficult decisions need to happen, and now you're mixing the issues. We've been very, very fortunate that our closest, so I had Noor's, which is my daughter, Noor's maternal uncle, so my brother-in-law from my previous marriage, he worked with us for a few years, and when he wanted to move on or whatever, it was wonderful. There was no problems, right? We did have a family friend that worked with us, and the way he handled the fact that he wanted to move on was really, really bad, and I learned so much about him, I didn't really want to be friends with him anymore. Because I thought, like, well, if that's the way you're going to handle me as a person, then what's the value of being friends with you, right?
Yeah, but that was more
Interesting.
of the personal part necessarily of the business part, or was it those two kind of
No.
became blurred, and that might be what
No, it
you're
wasn't they
alluding to.
became blurred. It was just the way I saw him in business. It wasn't how I saw him in business, because you can come and fuck up a lot and not be malicious or intentionally
Yeah, you could just be
putting the family in a bad position. But we were like really close family friends, and so the individual, the way he handled, the way he did a 2-week notice, which is great. I mean, that's what it is. You give a 2-week notice. It's a standard, right? We were not happy with the timing, because we had just spent so much money and time to move in a direction that he wanted to move into, and so forth. But what happened is that in the 2-week notice, so let's say the 2-week notice starts on a Monday, Thursday took off a half day, Friday decided not to show up at all, Monday called in something, and we're like you just have to do 10 days for the sake of having a beautiful close off, right? Just being done, and it just moves on, and that's awesome. So that was a negative thing, and I've always pondered that. Like, is it bad that I learned those things about him, or was it a good thing that I mixed the situation, or we all mixed the situation, and then learned this?
And it's interesting, just to kind of hypothesize, would he have let his 2-week notice be such a shit show if he wasn't friends outside of work? Like,
He probably would have
did
just
he
quit.
use his we're friends, so like you're gonna cut me some slack type, kind of that mindset of like,
Or is that just who he is? But he just
That's what I come to find out. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's just who he is, and I think the reality is that with somebody else, he might have just called in on Monday morning and say, "I'm not coming in anymore. Bye."
yeah.
My
Yeah.
girlfriend will come and pick up my stuff or something. Like, that was just super awkward.
So I totally, I'm just going to disagree with this all around. Being friends with employees is a dangerously bad idea. I would say most of my employees have been friends. Either I hired them because I knew who they were as a person and skills you can learn, or I became friends with them.
But has that been, okay, so what has been, okay, so I get the wonderful part about it, obviously. I think everybody will understand the wonderful part about it. What has been the drawbacks of this?
There's only been one drawback
Last year?
in 20-something years.
Last year.
Yes.
So is that now
Close to 30 years, actually.
so looking back, is that, are you totally fine that was the drawback? Like, hey, I learned a lot. Kind of like my
Yeah.
discussion with my friend. Like,
Yeah.
well, I learned so much here. I'm happy to have learned this, because now I got to see a different, more like the true side, maybe.
Yes.
So yeah,
But other than that, I think that but people that know me know this about me. For me, the basis of everything is love. And if you are in any type of relationship, business, employee, co-partner, parent, friend, whatever, any type of relationship, it has to be based on love, because then you're going to make the best decisions for that person when it
Yeah.
relates to you, and the decisions you make about yourself, you're going to take that other person into the frame and decide. And if you have a detached relationship with your employees and your team and your upper management, there's a lot missing. One of my
It's
mentors
easy to
is one of
teach
my
people
good friends.
shitty if you don't care about them.
Yeah.
no, it's not do care about them. That's not what the point is.
Care about someone's overall well-being, like the love part. That's kind of what she's talking about, I think.
No, that's different. You can care about their well-being. You can love them. You can like go to bed wondering about someone's situation, but not necessarily be butt buddies, right?
I
But
don't feel like I was.
You don't have to be
That's
joined
what
at the
I
hip.
mean. No, my point is, if you don't care about somebody, it's easier to make shitty decisions about them.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
That's
of
my
course,
point.
of
That's
course.
what I was saying.
No, of course. But I'm saying that the counter is not.
No.
The counter is
I'm
not the other
saying-
extreme, which is like, you
No,
know.
that's not what I was saying. I was just saying, like,
Well,
when management doesn't care, it's easy to make decisions that
Yeah.
might not affect that first tier of employees, but that trickle down of shit rolls downhill.
there is definitely a balance in there, and I think a lot of it is how things are handled. I remember a story from Carson Thompson, one of my mentors. He used to run Bombay Trading. It's $1 billion company in the 80s, and he started off with Tandy Leather Company back in like 1958, and worked with Charles Tandy in the whole Radio Shack thing. So really awesome person, and he described the fact that even in laying someone off, there's a way to do it that's so full of compassion. A lot of times it's like, well, you're not a really great fit here, but I already have found you other jobs, or I have found you this opportunity, or
Yes.
this kind of training that you need instead of like, okay, pack your shit, get out. And I always thought that was such a beautiful lesson. And so he told me a story about how there was a layoff that he did, I don't know, forever ago. And he was recently, a couple of years back, he went to a funeral for somebody else. And this gentleman comes up and says, you might not remember me, but you kind of saved my life. And you laid me off. And Carson was like, what's going on? He said, but when you laid me off, you helped me move into this thing that actually became the thing that I did so well at. And thank you so
awesome.
much, instead of just keeping me there. And so that is,
I love that.
that is a really good thing.
But that takes someone to have compassion,
Of
to
course,
love,
of
to
course.
think through it, to have some sort of understanding who that other person is. And can you really not have a friendship or a relationship with someone if you put all those pieces together?
So it goes back to our love thing. It's the difference between core and tribe. So there's like core, tribe, friends, right? So you can have friends that are not in your tribe.
Yes.
So I think here it's like, do
Yeah.
you want to put an employee into your tribe or into your core? That's, I think, the whole point. I hate to use that term, but I think to be really clear, like the employee name, right? Instead of a team member, which is what we love to say here. Because team member to me is like a voluntary thing. Like you volunteer to be part of a team, or you want to be part of a team, and you have a choice to be part of a team, and you want to play as a part of a team.
Yeah.
An employee seems so much more transactional for me. So.
Yeah, I agree.
These are really great comments about American Airlines being so bureaucratic and stuffy, and that people love the airlines, but they actually don't like the culture. And it's compared to Southwest Airlines, which they're so well known for having such an amazing culture. You can make a difference right where you are. However, it is much easier to be valued for unique talents and make a vision. Yeah, at Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines is American. Is a company that I fly with very often, either because that's the way like a lot of the flights I take, just Southwest doesn't really do them, but I always check them.
Well, and we're a big giant hub for Americans, so it's just like,
Well, yeah, that's the
everywhere.
thing.
Yeah.
They go everywhere, and they go a lot of places that Southwest doesn't go for me or the time, whatever, right? But the difference between American Airlines and Southwest Airlines is stunning. The difference between Virgin Airlines and American Airlines is stunning. Absolutely stunning. You know, an American Airlines, I've been flying with them forever. I carry the American Airlines card, as we talked about yesterday, to get the points. But the difference is it's so transactional based that everybody's in a transaction all the fucking time. Which like, where's the soul part of it, right? Where's the compassion part? And that's the thing that if they would change, they have to change at the leadership level first. Like they have to give a shit about each other first, to then trickle down and to finally go down. And that's, the training that we're doing with the utility company, right? Is it starts at the top, like making sure they get their stuff together and then bring that compassion into the organization at that level and then have it go down. Because when you get on a flight and people are snappy with you, like, stop, fucker. Like your whole thing should be able to accommodate the people on this basically flying bus and making sure that things are happening in a nice, sweet, kind way, right?
Yeah.
And at any time people are snappy, they need to be pulled out and have a conversation with and move on.
Well, I totally agree. I like this. What would you suggest for leadership at a startup or for a new venture to do to make sure they grow a great culture?
I think just creating that environment of encouraging people, like, what are your strengths? What are you passionate about? What are you excited about? That should never go away. That shouldn't only be available to people at a high level. Because...
What do you mean by that? Only available to people at a high level?
If you're, I would say by the time you become a big, giant corporation, if your little tiny worker ant's down at the very, very, very bottom, you little worker ant, you're a, class 2 data entry clerk. You will remain such until some amount of work has been accomplished that you may now become a class 3 worker ant, versus creating an idea where, worker ant, you're good at doing this. Why don't you come work with our marketing team?
I like how she says worker ant.
A worker ant.
Yeah. So just having that mindset of just kind of keeping the top flexible to the idea of being able to consider the fact that people can do other stuff versus what you hired them for.
Well, they are finding out very quickly that people are doing other stuff. So that's already happening. So the question is, how do you create a culture? So the answer is what we do is we started off with the whole conversation around mission. And well, starts
Values.
off with values first. What are your core
Contrasting
values?
values.
Well, that's the exercise, but the actual thing is to resolve down to 5 core values. And the core values of the executive team need to be very, very similar. Otherwise, you're obviously moving in a different direction. So let's use some crazy ones. So one of mine is money, and yours is love. So I'm always driving every decision, or impact. Let's use that one.
Okay.
I'm like, how can we make the most amount of money? And you're like, well, how can we have the biggest impact? Well, we're going to have a lot of fucking arguments about these things, because I will be trying to swindle or do whatever I fucking can do to make the most amount of money, and not doing it in a way that's sustainable and can cause an impact.
And that was an example, because our core values are almost exactly the same.
I think all of our core values are
Yeah.
very, very similar. So one of them is that, like, start the company, or the executive team has to know what is the values that we're actually living our life by.
Right.
If one of them is honesty, the other one's dishonesty. Like, I love to be the most dishonest person ever, and the rest of the team is wanting to be the most obvious and honest and transparent, some shit's gonna happen.
But honestly, we'll probably lock you in a trunk somewhere and be like, I don't know, it was so weird. Where is he? God, so late for this meeting.
That's so
He
funny.
won't shut up. He keeps talking.
So what do we do after mission? I mean, what do we do after, well, I already said it, mission, right?
Yeah, we do
How do they
mission. Creating that mission statement based on the core values of the leadership. And then from there, you communicate it to your management and executives, and have them do the same practice so that they can align with it.
If you do this right, it'll attract new team members, and it'll push. How about it'll open the door for some team members to realize that you're moving in a direction they don't want to be part of.
Right. And that also goes back to our wealth wheel. If people understand where they fit in their resources of life and what they want for an optimal life, then they can take that and apply it to their goals. They can take it and apply it to what they're doing in their day-to-day at work, their teammates, their partners, whoever. And so if employees of a company, if a whole company were to do this and really have people do a culture assessment and do a wealth assessment, and really to look through each of their individual needs and requirements and how they align with the company, I think that there would be a lot more satisfaction within a company.
Absolutely. So after that, so the mission statement is what is kind of what drives all the other decisions in the company. Are we meeting our decision?
Yeah.
I mean, are
Meeting our mission.
decisions working toward that mission?
Right.
Well, and
Instead of the one where, I'm sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
So, ask people if the whole culture is based on things like your wealth wheel, developing what an individual cares about. Then, if someone's like, "Hey, you know what? Our vision, my vision, as I've developed, doesn't align anymore." There's not that level of like, "Fuck you, trade or get out," which seems to kind of be the case in corporations. Like, if you leave, even if it's on good terms, there's still that like, "You left us, we hate you." Even like if you're giving them a nice pat on the
Well, there's
back.
just some generally asshole people. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. Like, why do
But
we
it's like
do we think that
cultural thing of
that somebody has to be your in your life for 80 years, and then you get upset when they leave? It's just crazy.
well, it's like we want you to be in our life for 80 years, but we're not going to like help you become a good person.
Yeah. I don't want to work with people like
But that's
that.
where, this like the wealth wheel and companies that are wanting to try and incorporate that whole person mindset. There is that level of support and network that actually means something. It's not just a buzzword.
Well, and I think it creates loyalty, and it creates a deeper connection where you wake up in the morning and you're excited about your day. I mean, who wants to wake up in the morning and dread their day and it's just another grind? I can't even.
I don't want
If you
that.
put in the shower before you get while you're getting ready for work,
Yeah.
it's probably not a good sign.
Yeah. I think of the number of people who are depressed and they just, because of their work, and it's like, what the heck?
That's
And
like
so
your
does that
day.
go back to education? Does that go back to schools? Does that go back to like just the way our whole system is built in, like, oh, you're really good at engineering, so you should go to engineering school.
It
Or
is.
everyone in our family's a doctor. You need to be a doctor.
I think it's straight up the fucking Matrix.
Oh, yeah, of course.
There's these rules, and that there's these ways it's been, and this is the family's done, and this is my family name, and they just stick to one direction, and it's great if it causes them honest to goodness joy, but how much of it is really not? How many times do they suffer? If you're suffering at all, that's the whole fucking purpose of suffering, is to show you something that else.
Right.
So if you're
you'll
like
go
waking up
look
like,
for
I
something
hate this, well, what actually do you hate about it? These 3 things. Well, fucking let's change them. But I can't, because I'm scared and I'm fearful. But really the ultimate question is, how do you create that in the culture? Is the leadership team has to have this purpose bigger than money. And then you started creating a culture that people get attracted to and want to be part of.
Yeah. I wonder what that would create if the leadership team, if their core values are money, and like if love and impact and
I have heard
those
Do
are
you
not in
remember,
there.
Do you not remember the stories? Well, I've heard some stories from Carrie, our friend
Yeah,
out of
you're
Florida.
right. Yeah.
And it's she worked at a few of the big international banks, working really, really high level up there. And it was so driven by money that, for example, if I was closing a deal, somebody else would come over here on the other side and then tag their name in my deal, knowing that they could siphon off an immediate 10 or 15%.
No, it's crazy.
Just like that. And it's like, oh, fuck you. But the way they handled that is that if I went up to the boss and said, Emily was not part of this deal, like, awesome, both of you guys lose the deal. And so you could totally just siphon your money off other people. You could fuck some, like, it was, so imagine showing up to an environment that's so adversarial. That was actually a movie, I watched a movie called Miss Sloane.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
No,
It's
but,
amazing. It's such a great
Jessica
movie.
Chastain,
Yeah.
I think.
I think so. She plays a lobbyist. She plays a lobbyist taking on, I want to say tobacco. It was either tobacco or guns, something like that. But she was so driven by just winning that she crushed so many people around her. And you could see it. So in a sense, she was an amazing lobbyist because she quote unquote won. But you can see in the movie like the turmoil that it was causing her. Like, I'm not interested in that. And
It's like Thank You for Smoking, kind of a similar mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
So yeah, that's it. And then after that, all your decisions should be aligning with your core values, or your decisions should be working toward your mission. You should communicate this constantly, openly, freely, and you create an environment. You start creating a culture, or whatever that is, right? You start creating an environment that it's always moving in this certain direction. So if somebody comes in, it's not that they have to match the personalities of everybody here. That's a different conversation, right? We can have an introvert person here that doesn't want to expose their life. That's okay.
Well, so you're all on the same team. Everyone on that team isn't the quarterback. It's, I don't know the names of other people that are on teams. A point guard or something. I don't know.
Point guard, quarterback.
You have safety, you have
So
wide
you just-
receiver,
you
you
just
have
added-
Dudes
right
fighting over
tackle,
balls. I don't
tight
understand.
end. I know them
You
all.
totally just added football and basketball together.
I know this did
Yay,
not.
sports ball.
Sports
And if
ball.
you make exactly the right amount of points to win the match, if it's a lot or a little, like you get throw golf in
Match is
there.
a term for tennis.
I'm diversifying so I can talk to a lot of people. Don't pick apart my mixed metaphor.
So, speaking of
sports ball.
culture, I think it's an awesome time to talk about what we put in our proposal to the utility company.
Oh, yeah. That one's all about culture.
So if you are happen to watching it and part of the utility company, act like you'll be surprised on Monday. But in our transparency, we will be happy to share that with you. So if you give me 1 second, I will work to open this document. And
So here's a high-level introduction overview about what this is about. We are working with an energy company, utility company, who is their leaders have done their core values and mission and statement with us and have come to the understanding that they really want to give back to their customers and they want to build their community within their company and around their company.
it was amazing.
It was beautiful.
What they were saying was just so awesome that they basically were saying, you know, we spent, what, was it like 20 years?
Yeah,
Approximately 20 years.
yeah.
Going from being poor to, you know, struggling to get this business going, and all of a sudden, finally, we're starting to make amigo money, like some serious money.
Right.
But then we look back and we realize, like, our customers are having difficult lives, and so are our team members.
Yeah.
And we want to change that.
And they themselves identified as miserably rich.
Well, and also they didn't want to be miserably rich.
Yeah, they didn't want to be. So that led the discussions with us and how to implement a different culture and how to work within creating that whole life for them. So yeah, that's the overview of
What got us to here?
Yeah.
So what we're suggesting is that they're ultimately going to go through kind of like 3 layers of training, 3 buckets. So one of them is just on the person themselves,
Right.
right? And so some of them are broken up actually this whole section is basically the same for all of them. It's that the management team and the executives, the management team, and the team members all go things around how to communicate, how to build relationships, really understanding how they're made up using tools and assessments like the DISC test, our Kinetic Wealth, and how to have what we call next level ownership. So this is going to be written by our partner, or this is a book written by our partner, around really understanding how much control an individual has in their life.
Yeah.
And we also go through helping them set their own goals, helping them understand like what's driving behavior, right? Help them to set a vision for their own life, and a conversation around money. And then we go into the skills, which is around, for the executive and management team, is next level leadership and leader as a coach. And so how can we, so it's training around how they can be better at coaching each other and their team members. And then we go through how to solve problems together as a team, how to build a more effective HR department, and presentation and influence skills. And then collectively as a team, we're going to go through training on conflict resolution. So that kind of actually points back to one of the comments that was written above about how in American Airlines, the team members couldn't even resolve their own conflicts without having to involve someone from HR, versus what we're saying is that they should have the skills to handle it themselves and bring HR in if needed to help facilitate the conversations.
Exactly.
And then we, of course, we're going to do quarterly or maybe monthly meetings for a while to really make sure that the habits are being baked in. And so that's a big part here. It's the difference between keeping, doing training on one side and then learning to create the habit on the other. And then what's really awesome is we have a whole online portal of epic trainings that'll be available to the team members, the management team, of course, and possibly extending that out to the team members' families and even their clients. And so that'll be things like learning how, so some of the other things that are not listed from above, it's
like doing the contrasting values exercise to really get down to their key values.
So everybody, even their clients, will know what their values are, right? Helping them create their own vision statement, helping them, even the clients, knowing how to create goals and how to understand how to manage their money, how to parent, like a parent's guide toward coaching their kids, right? From a perspective of how to support their kids. So just a lot of training on a lot of stuff and helping them create those habits.
Well, and
this is such an epic proposal. Huh?
Yeah, the important part of like what this training is, it's not just like, let's make a mission statement and then everyone go back to what we're doing. This is your mission because you care about it. What are specific things you can do that will help realize it? Because otherwise it's just some, rah exercise workshop to take a break from having to do work for a while. It's like, no. Fill yourself up inside with this message, and it's amazing what can happen.
Well, I think
implement it.
Yeah, and I will say this other part. I think what's really awesome here is the fact that this is a commodity item. So if you're selling a commodity, there has to be something unique and different about you, or the only thing you're competing on is price. Right. So if I'm selling the same freaking phone and you're selling the same phone, why would anybody deal with you and not deal with me, or vice versa?
Boobs. It always comes down to boobs.
Tits get hits. That's Emily's line.
Clicks.
So there's that. And so in a commodity-based business, if these guys really align their business with their personal mission statement, which is helping people grow.
Yeah.
And like these things are going to, imagine the amount of attention. Imagine what they're going to attract when they tell their clients, we're investing in you. Who the fuck does that?
It's awesome. I can't wait.
Have it be something that's truly valuable and good, like a good thing, not just, we're making a donation and something we care about on your behalf, which is still cool.
Right.
But it doesn't speak to someone on a personal level. We're like, I'm doing this, or we're doing this because we care and want to make sure everyone that we can contact is being the best that they can be and want to be.
I love it. I'm so
like
excited.
Be all you can be.
Be all that you can be.
I love it too. I think it's amazing. So, anyways.
Yeah.
So it is 11 o'clock.
It is 11 o'clock. So thank you everybody that's been on this journey with us.
Thank you
again-
for your questions.
Yes. Oh my
And
God.
comments and
couldn't
feedback.
we couldn't do this without the questions and the comments. So thank you so much.
Helping us get our audio straightened out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the technical stuff. We have, one of the questions was, do we do podcasting? We do. We actually have a show called Becoming Da Vinci that Jannica and I have. We'll be doing another interview, I think, this week or definitely by next week. And that's on becomingdavincishow.com. It's also a playlist inside of the Kinetic Experiences YouTube channel. We also have, which actually I think is right here on our Twitch channel, there's a little button there for YouTube. We also have, let me think, what else do we have? Podcasting. Yes, that's on the podcast. That's the whole answer on the podcasting.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we don't have another
Our website
one.
is
My Kinetic Journey.
the kineticexperience.com. Yes, and a lot of times we do post around hashtag My Kinetic Journey, and it's just sharing what is part of your journey in life, and especially if you go to build a business or you're going to learn a new skill that you can apply to another career or whatnot. So it's just hashtag My Kinetic Journey. So I guess
And
that's it.
tomorrow, I just spelled journey wrong, whatever. Tomorrow we are supposed to talk about hobbies, but I would like to switch that to Friday because I'm not going to be here tomorrow, and suggest that you guys talk about mind and body tomorrow, health.
Why?
Because I want to have Evan on Friday and talk about hobbies and talk about gaming and connection to earning money and connection to Twitch and strategy and all that.
Okay, let's see what happens.
Huh.
All right, signing off. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.